Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Springer.
Thank you. Thank you.
The kids in the cheap seats.
Yes, because there's 6 chairs here.
Dozens.
Hey, welcome. Big week.
A big,
Hey.
huge week.
Huge week.
You know, I don't want to talk like we're in high school or something, but you had a big date Tuesday night.
Yeah, he did.
I had a
You had a
date.
dinner date
I
Yeah.
had a date.
with next president of the United States.
That's exactly right.
And regular people, Megan and me, we don't live that way. We don't have those experiences.
Well, there were a whole
We didn't
bunch
get
of
the
little
invitation.
people standing out on the sidewalk.
Oh, really? Yeah. Waving.
You just
so
waved to
you
'em.
so you went to a, shall we call it, as it's been described to me, as an intimate dinner.
Well, we don't need to get into detail.
Well,
It was
no,
a
I'm not
nice
saying.
we-
No, I'm going. Megan,
Oh,
I'm
we
not
do.
suggesting.
We do.
Good
No.
Lord.
But you had dinner with Hillary Clinton the other night.
Yes.
That is so cool.
And,
Tuesday night. It was
te-
exciting. It
Tell
was.
us about that.
It was-
Seriously, now let's don't make
Yeah.
it tawdry. That would be what you would do. I wouldn't do that.
Of
but,
course not. No, it was in Miami Beach,
okay.
and the former U.S. ambassador to Belgium, who interestingly had been born in Cuba, and so there was an opportunity to talk about our trip to Cuba. But anyway, he hosted this small event. Part of it where some of the people there were major contributors, and other people were her political people. And she had made several visits in Florida during the day, and now we were having dinner there that night. And it was really, I mean, on
like
such
50 people, 100 people? How many
no,
people?
there were 10, 12 people.
Really? It was
Yeah,
that
yeah,
small?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it was really exciting.
You sat at when dinner time came, you sat at a dining room table?
Yeah, it was a, first of all, the home.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gorgeous. I
Yeah.
mean, it was the ambassador, and it was like a museum, and they're art collectors, and I mean, it was
Oh, yeah.
it was upscale for me.
Even for you,
Oh,
upscale.
for me, it was upscale.
Wow.
Big old step up
Because
from
everyone
Skyline.
there is talking about how big their plane is.
Yeah, yeah.
I usually get by with just having a plane. I
having
don't
a
have to say mine's bigger than yours.
Yeah.
In Gene's company, you just have the
Yeah,
plane.
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but anyway, so we were.
Were you at the kids' table or were you at the adult table?
I was based on age. I was at the adult
You're at
table.
the adult table.
Yeah, and so we ate there, and
Did
it
you
was a
sit at
beautiful
a
meal.
table
It was
with Hillary?
Yes.
Amazing.
No kidding.
No. What? Can you imagine
Well, no,
how?
I-
Can you imagine how excited she is?
Yeah, right.
Dear Lord. What did you talk about?
Yeah, what was you talking
Oh,
about?
the Yankees. And,
We did
No,
not.
no. Obviously, during the meal, it was more conversation like the exhaustion of, and this is true of anyone who runs for president. We can't imagine it. I remember how exhausting it was just from running for city council or mayor or even governor. That's pretty tiring. But can you imagine every single day? And for her, it's been for almost 2 years now, literally, 10 visits a day, different cities, different parts of the country. It's, and she's just about 70 years old or getting close to 70. So for any human being, and there was a lot of conversation how she doesn't. She admitted, she says there are days that she is just really, really tired. And by the way, and we should all recognize that some slips that come up by all candidates, and I'm not just going to pick on Trump on this one, you say you're tired. And sometimes you lose the filter and you say something or maybe you don't remember. So you do get tired. Well, what's significant is because later on when we were talking about this issue, she said she is going to take a rest for the days leading up to the first debate. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Very interesting. Because she said, and she's right, she said if anything is, because she sees that the trend is going in her direction. They're feeling good about it. And but the first debate is the one moment that could change everything. Historically, that has been the case, by the way.
And I don't want to draw you out on things she said that maybe she private conversation. And I know you'll be careful not to divulge any strategy or whatever. But I wanted to ask you, did she understand? I'm just always curious about this. That you are, in addition to doing the TV show, which I'm sure she's aware of, everybody is. You're known for that.
Oh, she knows.
Other background. And
Yeah, I mean, she knows that's why I was there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because of your political background,
Totally.
and your political interests.
Totally aware, because she kept asking me questions about Ohio and Florida, because
good.
now, we live in
that's right.
Florida.
Florida resident,
So, she was very interested in that, and, who the players are, and that, that kind of
It's
thing.
very cool, though,
So-
that you had a chance to.
It was very exciting. I
small
got to tell you,
gathering,
just
sure.
as a groupie, when she was talking to the other people, and she says, "Well, Jerry said," and I'm going, "Oh, that's me."
That's really cool, though. I mean, honestly. Well, Jerry
very
said.
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the only thing I took. I don't know what she said afterwards, but when she said Jerry, she had me at Jerry.
Yeah. I think
That's
that's
really
just, I
neat.
Yeah,
think
so that
that's
was
really
kind of cool. That was fun. But on the substance of the debate thing, which gave me an idea even of what we would be talking about tonight as one of the side issues here, is she, just said the first debate is everything. Because
Sure.
she thinks that's
Sure.
the only thing that could possibly derail.
Makes
So,
sense.
and the expectation of her is so high because, and this is God's truth, she's brilliant.
Boy, I saw
even
her
if you
today.
hated her, she is just so smart. She was talking about the South China Sea and the separate treaties we have with Thailand, South Korea, and Japan, and how that's going to play a role
Amazing.
in how we deal with China and this, and
Yeah.
she's naming these people and all that, and just casually,
Yeah.
not reading a speech, or just having a conversation, and you say, where is Trump in this conversation?
Right.
I mean, it's not. It shouldn't even be a contest.
Right.
It's embarrassing that this is a contest. There are other bright people in the world that could have that discussion with her, but he's not one of them. So it's just incredible. But the first debate, it's interesting to think of that because there are certainly two elections in my lifetime, in our lifetime, where the first debate was everything. Obviously, John Kennedy and Richard Nixon. In fact, no one even remembers the second and fourth debate. They had 4 debates in 1960. It was that first debate. Because up till then, Nixon was the vice president. He was the one knowledgeable about the world. He had gone, when he went to Peru and they threw stones at him and all that kind of. So he had a whole background of, he had heft. He had the weight. And here was young John Kennedy, who they thought was a little bit of a dilettante, plus he was Catholic and no experience. And that's what it was. Now Jack Kennedy is an iconic figure, but before that first debate, he wasn't taken that seriously. And then all of a sudden in the first debate on television, he was phenomenal. And that seemed to be, that's when it all suddenly started going Kennedy's way. The other example that we should remember, those of us who are, Democrats, Clinton supporters, is the election of 1980. You had Jimmy Carter running for re-election. And even those of the most loyal Democrats had to admit things were going south. I mean, we had the hostages, we had the Arab oil embargo, the long gas lines, massive inflation. I mean, that's when Reagan said, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" And, all that kind of stuff. And it just looked horrible for Carter. And yet, Carter was something like 10 or 12 points ahead in the polls leading up to that first debate. Why? Not because the country was happy with Carter. They were not. But they thought Reagan could be a bozo because he was in that movie Bedtime with Bonzo. And, that he had, he was just this real lightweight movie, B-movie actor. We can't have him as president of the United States. Kind of the stuff that we're saying now of Trump, although Reagan did have a political background and did have some intellectual depth, not the kind we like, maybe on the views, but Reagan had a point of view, a philosophy, and he'd been governor of the largest state in the Union for 8 years. But anyway, no one thought Reagan was anything. So Carter was, even though America wasn't happy with him, he was way ahead in the polls because we couldn't really have Ronald Reagan as president. And then in that first debate, Reagan passed the only test he had to pass. He didn't look like a crazy person with his finger on the button. Remember, we thought he was such a hawk he would blow up the world. And when he just stood there and looked avuncular, looked like everybody's uncle, and said, well, there you go again, Jimmy, Mr. President. All of a sudden, people felt comfortable. And the second they felt comfortable with him at that first debate, the very next day, the landslide toward Reagan started. The end result wasn't a landslide, but it started the avalanche towards being way behind to actually winning the election fairly comfortably started. That's the effect of that first debate. America's going to watch it. More people will watch that debate than the Monday Night Football game, and they really will. Because I think that is, we keep saying, those of us that are for Hillary, and how can anyone seriously think of Trump? And the answer often is, well, no one's taking it that seriously yet. It's the summer or it's the springtime before the election. That first debate, I think, will be the one time that America really focuses on one-on-one, no extra people around probably, just them. And then we're going to see if she has a bad night, if by some miracle Trump comes across as measured, which seems impossible, or bright or knowledgeable, that could be a problem for her. That could be a real problem. Because remember, the nation isn't with her right now because they love her. I think they should, but a lot of people aren't. But they're with her because they ultimately agree we can't have Trump as president, and Hillary is smart, and she is a grown-up, and that's what you need as a president. That's what's playing for that first debate. It'll be the most important debate in a generation, I think, because of the consequence of it.
Yep. Interesting. And you've had a pretty busy week because I know today you filled in on the Opie Show, Opie and Jim Norton, the comic on Sirius XM. And that's pretty cool, too. And I imagine you had a chance to kind of promote the podcast. And,
I talked about the podcast a lot, every other sentence.
Yeah.
But, speaking of the podcast, this was weird. I'm on for 2 hours, hosting the show there and taking calls.
Right.
And we get this call from, and how did he know I was on? From that Senator Tip Kemper?
Oh, State Senator Tip Kemper.
Nuts.
He's called our show. He's called our show
Right.
4 times.
And then he's calling there. And these guys, there were two comedians with me on the show, and they're wondering, who is this loony?
Well, so you brought him with you.
Yeah, and he came up with his
Just
idea
trail along.
of the summer swim.
Oh, he proposed that on this show, too, that if you have a swimming pool, kids from the poorer neighborhoods must come to your pool with a voucher.
Right,
If you
that's
own-
right.
you have
the
to
voucher
take 'em.
program.
Yeah, if you own a swimming pool, his legislation was.
In-ground pool. It had to be an in-ground pool.
No, there was above ground,
Oh, was
too.
there a
He-
clause?
that is
It was
what
a
he
foot
said
deep
today.
or deeper.
You were
right.
required, if they had a voucher, to 10 kids from the inner city or lower income kids, they would be allowed to swim in your pool from 9 until 5. And you had to give them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
And a towel.
And a towel.
Yes, and a call home.
So that seems reasonable to me. Maybe I'm the crazy one, but
And you had to
he
let them use
called
your
the
cell
he
show.
phone.
called that the fair
and then
swim.
the phones lit
the
up.
fair
And
swim.
people started screaming at him.
Well-
There was this guy from Staten Island. What the hell is he talking about? Where is he?
I love it.
Isn't that interesting? He must be, State Senator Tip Kemper must be,
He's
he must
stalking me.
almost stalking
Yeah.
you to know
'cause wherever I'm
kind of
on,
where
he
else you
shows
are
up.
on.
Yeah.
And
That's
then calls
really
in.
funny.
But I guess he's just looking for what
He's
they
got
call
nothing
earned
else to
media.
do.
He's always trying to get some bill across the finish line. And a little bit later, we're going to be talking to a young man from, I think, Colorado, and we'll find out when we bring him on. PJ is his name. And he's responding to the thing that's on our website, Megan Hills. Hello,
Yeah,
Megan.
hi.
How are you? And it's here from Megan Hills. And
Stop
Megan has a real life outside of this show. Jerry and I have no lives except to come to the podcast. But she is a HR manager of a big company. We never name the company because we don't want to get her.
We don't want her to lose her job.
like to keep
How
job.
can you be an HR manager
and
work with us?
Who the hell knows? It is.
Are there no standards anymore?
That's whiplash right there. But anyway, we had this promotion. Would you like to date Megan? Because Megan's single and she's not married and she's not, so she dates as she should. Lovely young woman, youngish woman, as we say. Well, Jerry says that. He says, well, you're not 18
Thank
or
you,
19.
Gene. Yes, no.
You know?
Neither are you,
Anyway,
sir.
No. Anyway, so PJ's going to come on and
Yeah.
but we've learned our lesson, Jerry, you and I, because we're
What are
like
we gonna
her
do here,
crazy
gentlemen?
uncles. We're going to vet him
Oh.
because in the past we've been
Thank you. I
a
appreciate
little,
that.
the gates have been a little loose.
Very loose.
Yeah, I
You're the worst.
Yeah, you breathing?
Well,
You'll
watch what happens on this one.
Okay, I'm not going to
Because,
hold my
The
breath.
guy's going to call up, and we're going to vet him to see
Yeah,
if he's
if he's a finalist.
If he's a finalist.
And whoever wins,
Who has called and isn't a finalist?
No one.
Name
Well,
one
not
person
one.
who actually
I put
called
most of them
and
on the-
isn't a finalist.
I'll give you
Everyone
one.
is a finalist.
a woman who wanted to date Megan, and Megan says, "No,
Oh,
that's not. I'm not
didn't
into
make the
that." So,
finals.
Well, I'm
And-
straight, so
Yeah, I mean,
it's just all there was
that's
to it.
but everybody else is a finalist.
Everybody else is it.
Anyway, we're going to do that, and that's always fun because that thing is just it's a gift that just keeps giving. But, hey, Jerry.
Well, now that I think
wanted-
about it,
hey,
straight and not straight, that's a perfect 10. The 1 is straight, and the 0 is...
I hate
now
you.
see,
So the perfect 10 would be you going out with a gay woman.
There you go.
Be a perfect...
Oh my lord.
my lord,
We're
I'm
out.
with you, Megan.
So
You're so screwed
I
here.
can't. Speaking of tens, have you been watching the Olympics? How about that? for a second?
Well,
Great.
and speaking of the Olympics, how about Matt Catfish Williams
That was not a good
throwing his hat into the ring
Yeah.
for the Ludlow City Council?
I love it.
What, the folks who-
Our own catfish?
Catfish.
And this is for real. This is legit.
This is legit.
This
And
is not a
Megan,
shtick.
everything on the show is legit.
Legit.
Okay.
That's right,
We
my
just
bad.
talked
This is
about
more
3
legit.
things. Tip Kemper, you want to date Megan. They're all
All
legit.
legit.
Oh, that is...
But anyway,
He's really running
Catfish.
for city council.
Yeah,
in
he is.
listen to
Ludlow.
what he did.
What?
He put,
Love it, Cat.
and his campaign manager is Casey Campbell, who's our
Oh,
music
this is a
coordinator.
combination that can't
Oh, no,
possibly
this is
fail.
He has as an advisor, Mayor Waite, who is here in the audience,
Yeah.
is always with us. A former mayor.
This
He's
is like a
being helped
Ludlow Hall
by-
of Fame right here.
And Gene Galvin.
By John from Ideal Hardware, who was a
yes.
council member years
Yes,
ago. So
yes.
he's got all these people helping him. And he put on the ballot when he registered, when he filed, catfish. So it will be on the ballot.
That's catfish.
Catfish.
Wow.
Catfish
Freaking
Williams.
love you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think that's good strategy.
That's a great strategy because first of all, you stand out versus all the other Joe, Johns, and Bills. Yeah.
And we're already checking. Jerry's asking the right question of what's the legal limit for a donation. Catfish said 2 million. Casey, his campaign manager, said 23 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
Anything
don't
in
know.
that range is
Doesn't
good.
sound right.
Well, 23 million. Why don't you just buy Ludlow? 23 million. I'll buy Ludlow and call it Springertown. And you're all out of here.
And then Matt can Matt be on city council for that then?
No, but we are behind.
Yeah.
Matt Catfish.
Yes,
Oh,
we
absolutely. I'm throwing everything I have
are
behind him.
behind him.
Whoop, whoop.
And you know
I'll
what?
give him some of my old bumper stickers.
There you go.
Hey,
Save
he's
the
going to
Union
go
Terminal
door to
records.
door in Ludlow, and we've already.
How many doors is that?
About
I don't know.
27,
I bet
28.
you in Ludlow, Mayor, do you know how many households are there in Ludlow? Do we know? 500? We don't. Okay, 5,200 people.
Well, some of them live
Okay,
together.
well, that's good.
So it's not 50.
We know, but if
Yeah.
there are roughly 5,000 people. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. So
Two
we're
and a
going to
half
go.
person per
He's
household.
going door to door. He'll do some as much as he can do. We already committed to doing that for Hillary Clinton, by the
Yes.
way, the podcast crew.
Right.
So maybe we go door to door.
And we also mentioned catfish.
Yeah,
I'm
mention
willing to
catfish.
do that.
Heck yeah,
You
man.
know what? Put me down for $10. I'm telling you.
And put me down for $1.
Jerry, can
That's
he
kind of
borrow
sort of
$1?
ratio.
All where they may.
No, but
We're
are
going to back you big time.
$11 American. How about that?
I love it. Well, mine might be Cuban.
Mine's
I had
still
some of those
left
left over.
But you took the money out of the
I don't know
country.
if they spend very well in Ludlow.
In
but-
Ludlow. Guess we'll
Hey,
find out.
and we did vacations. Megan has been on 14 cruises this year, so
Yeah.
she didn't
Good
do one
Lord.
recently. But Jerry, you went to Coronado Island
Yes.
in Southern California.
Yeah, it's right off the coast of San Diego.
I wanted to ask you this real
Gorgeous,
fast.
gorgeous.
Describe just in a couple sentences because we were on vacation simultaneously.
Yes, you were.
I went somewhere else. You went to
You're
Coronado.
in your one-man tent.
Yeah, I went backpacking with some
Yeah.
friends of mine. But you, the first day or evening of your vacation, just give us a mental picture. What did you see? What did you have? Turn down service? Was there a chocolate thing on the pillow? What was it like at Coronado Island?
Well, the butler doesn't bring the chocolate thing on the pillow until
Right.
about
I can't
until
stand
about
you.
9:30. But right outside, you know, you get a little, you get a villa.
You had
And
a villa.
yeah, and then a table was set up with a fireplace in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
A fire pit.
Fire pits. Yeah,
Fire
those are
pit.
cool.
And we all
Do
sat
they have like the
around.
glass beads? or
Nighttime
was it-
temperature might have been what?
I'd
70?
say about 70
The perfect
74.
temperature,
Yeah, anything. around
Hard
70.
rains falling, would you say?
No,
No,
rain.
blue skies.
Blue sky, yeah.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the stars were out, and so we had this wonderful meal, and then afterwards we took the kids down on the beach because it's right. We're on the beach
Unbelievable.
basically, and then we had s'mores.
Oh,
And
we can only dream of that.
Yeah.
What'd you do, Gene?
Well, the first night of my vacation, we're talking like July 10th, as the temperature fell, the snow started to fall.
Snow.
And by morning, there was probably 2 inches of snow on the
And
ground.
that's when he sprayed himself with bear spray. It just-
Yeah. You know I did that. Did
Shut
you
up,
know
did you really?
So I went backpacking in Idaho, and this was so much fun. We backpacked up about 3,000 feet to 8,000 feet. We were all suffering from altitude sickness. I went to sleep that night in my tent.
This sounds
No
like-
dinner.
this
I was
sounds
too
like
exhausted to do it.
This sounds like
The
fun.
snow started to fall, got up in the morning, and there was snow
punishment.
everywhere. So that's rich man Coronado, poor man Sawtooth Mountains
Yeah.
of Idaho.
So therefore, if you have a choice, go rich.
Go rich. If you
Always
have
go
that
rich.
choice.
I'm
I never
writing that
had
one
that
down.
I'm
choice.
just saying, if you have a choice, just
I never had that.
Writing that advice down.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jerry.
You know, speaking, Jerry, of the Sawtooth Mountains of Idaho, how about Trump making that crack the other day that sounded like people should assassinate Hillary Clinton? It's what it sounded like to me. And then the sort of following reactions of various Republicans. Well,
Yeah.
what did you think of that?
Well, let's get the quote exactly right to put the whole conversation in context. He's given one of his big rally speeches, and he's saying, obviously lies, but, Hillary Clinton wants to do away with the Second Amendment. Duh. She wants to take away everyone's guns. Total lies. It's not even a misinterpretation. Total lie. What she said is that people that are, for example, on the terror no-fly list shouldn't be able to buy guns. Seems reasonable. If you're a terrorist, no, we're not going to give you a gun. We do have a special next week, but other than that. So, really rational, reasonable, but of course he's got the endorsement of the NRA, and he says, and if she's president, she's going to put someone on the Supreme Court, and that's going to be a person that'll take away your guns, et cetera. So this is the quote. If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is. I don't know. The implication being, well, it's hard to find another explanation. What are the Second Amendment folks going to do? What's the other remedy? If she puts them on, there's nothing you can do unless, of course, you Second Amendment folks. What is the Second Amendment comes to mind with Second Amendment? People who have guns. It's not an organizational thing. For example, if Hillary Clinton was saying of Trump, you better watch who gets on the Supreme Court because he'll put someone on who's, a right to life. And, but, of course, there's nothing you can do except you girls who are having an abortion, come on down. it's so obvious what he meant by that. Now, perhaps he was saying it flippantly. I'll give him enough credit that he's not, asking someone to shoot her. But the irresponsibility of that, because even giving him the benefit, no, he's not asking her to be assassinated. Let's agree, 99.9% of people that hear that didn't then go home and grab their guns. But we all know there are crazies out there. There are nuts out there. There are people of all kinds that are crazy and nuts, and the people that have guns and are crazy and nuts are particularly dangerous because when they go off the deep end, they've got a gun in their hand. And if he's stirring up anger, as he has done at other rallies against Hillary, lock her up. Some guy is getting physical with a protester at one of his rallies, and he says, get him out of here, and don't worry, I'll pay for your defense. In other words, he's been kind of egging on the crazies to do really bad things and to tell the NRA people, well, maybe there's something you can do. I don't know. That's always his fail-safe so that he doesn't have to be responsible. He always says, like, well, people are saying, I don't know, maybe they'll do that. I don't know. So he's not responsible. But the fact of the matter is that it is despicable, knowing the country is so divided, knowing people can get so hostile, and talking to the NRA people and saying, well, you want to stop her, because that's the word he used. He says, you can't stop it unless maybe, the NRA people will stop it. Now, we hope and pray nothing's going to happen. Good Lord, if something does happen. And by the way, it's not just people in the media talking about it. The Secret Service has indicated now publicly that they're aware of what he said and conversations are taking place. Makes their job even tougher and tougher and tougher because you have no idea where these crackpots are coming from. And it's not like in our lifetime we haven't had people shoot at presidents and presidential candidates. And George Wallace, who was just a candidate. So it's not like wait until they get into the White House. The danger of Donald Trump, I don't think he's going to be elected president. America's smarter than that, and even Republicans now are coming out and saying that's too much. We can't have him. But he's poisoned the conversation of this country. Because when the election's over, he's given rise to a whole bunch of people who have these, frankly, horrible attitudes on race, on violence and things like that. And he's now giving them, he's become their standard bearer. And they can feel like, well, a presidential candidate said these are reasonable things to talk about. We're going to pay for the stuff he's saying now, even though there's some indication that he's starting to realize he may not win this thing. And he's starting for the first time, which is so un-Trump-like, literally talking in interviews now about what will happen if he doesn't win. He says, well, I'll have a nice long vacation. I mean, he's starting to recognize that when he looks at the map, it's hard for him to put together states where he can win when he's 10%, 11% behind in Pennsylvania, and, Virginia's gone, Colorado's gone, stuff like that. But even though he won't win, what he has done to the American dialogue is very, very dangerous and bad. He's poisoned the environment, with his words, and hopefully more Republicans will say, you're out of here. I think they should formally ask him to not run. They should formally, I'm not saying he'd listen. They can't force him out, but they should at least formally, if they want to save their party and have any kind of principle, stand for anything, they ought to say it. Sorry, we hope you vote Republican, blah, 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 but for president, we cannot with a straight face say vote for Donald Trump. They ought to say that.
You're kind of a student of history, of presidential history, and there has been no one, can you think of anybody, any presidential candidate, certainly in our lifetime and maybe even beyond, that you may know about from studies, where the other side, where their party, in this case Donald Trump's party, the Republican Party, the parade of people who are coming out by the day to say, I'm not for him. The 50 prominent national security Republican officials 2 days ago, yesterday, the day
Yeah.
before, that came out in a joint letter saying we can't support him. It's unprecedented. Senators who are stepping forward and saying, one in particular who's Collins, Senator Collins, saying, I won't vote for Hillary, but I'm not voting for Trump.
Yeah, I think
it's
there's
unprecedented.
Yeah, I think there's 7 Republican senators who have basically said that. But yeah, there's an example in history, not with a presidential candidate. And when we say history, let's say the last 150 years, because in the very beginning we didn't have political parties, and not until 1800. So that's different. But certainly in the last 150 years, you're exactly right. We haven't had that. Although there is a parallel, and I take you back to the 1950s, and this is, I think, a wonderful parallel with Trump and Joe McCarthy. Now, after the Second World War, look, the Soviet Union was our ally during the Second World War, and to be fair, without the Soviet Union, the war might have had a different outcome, certainly until we had the atom bomb. I mean, no country lost as many people in the Second World War as the Soviet Union. So they paid a price to beat Hitler. Hats off. But then the war's over, and now, as happens after every war, the countries divide up the spoils. What about these countries we defeated that are no longer? And so the Soviet Union, Stalin said, and from his point of view fairly, we lost the most citizens, we paid the highest price, we should get some of the land that we got. And so they got Eastern Europe, basically, at Yalta. That's what was worked out. A lot of us don't think that was a real good deal. Nevertheless, the Soviet Union got Eastern Europe. And what they did is they turned all these Eastern European countries into communism. And that was the beginning of the Cold War. And then Churchill in 1946 coming to America, I think someplace in Missouri, talked for the first time about the Iron Curtain. And that was the beginning of it. Now, all of a sudden, we Americans start getting scared. Oh my gosh, the Soviet Union, it's expanding. It's not just their republics. And now it's Poland, it's Czechoslovakia, it's Estonia, Lithuania. I mean, just spreading out. And so we started to have the fear that communism was taking over. That was the Cold War. Here comes Joe McCarthy, a senator from Wisconsin, and he figures he's going to take political advantage of this. And now he starts saying, because he's running against Democrats and the Truman administration, there are communists every place. They're fellow travelers. Understand, after the Depression of 1929, there were a lot of Americans that took a fairly friendly view, certainly to socialism. Capitalism obviously wasn't working right then after the Depression. So all of a sudden, there were ways maybe that ought to be entertained. And there were a lot of people that started to go to meetings where socialists would meet, etc. Well, Joe McCarthy then took that and said that anyone that ever had an association with someone who went to one of those meetings in the 1930s, when at that point it was considered reasonable, even if you didn't agree with it, he went after these people, said they're really communists. And now careers were ruined. And they had the House Un-American Activities Committee, and the Senate would hold hearings on whether you were a loyal American. There was the loyalty oath. And careers, I mean, you were a doctor, and all of a sudden a charge was brought that you knew some communists, or they were friends of yours, or they were in your business. Your whole career was ruined. People wouldn't go to you anymore. Obviously, in Hollywood, a lot of actors were blacklisted. In television, people were blacklisted if they thought they had socialist leanings or knew someone who was a communist. And then, famously, in, I think, Charleston, West Virginia, Joe McCarthy shows up one day saying, I have here a list of 175 communists in our State Department. And that was, oh my God, our own government. And that Truman was coddling to the communists, and and that was the beginning of McCarthy. He was horrible, and that was the great, great fear in America in the early 50s. Now, here's the parallel to Trump. Although Trump, it's more with race. While McCarthy was doing that, very few people in government stood up to him, the other politicians, because there was such a fear of communism in America that you didn't really want to take him on. And by the way, as much as I love the Kennedys, they didn't have a great history of this either. Bobby Kennedy worked for McCarthy in the Senate committee having those hearings. And so politicians were afraid to speak out against McCarthy because then they'd lose their base. You know, you could have views on anything else, but if you were soft on communism, boom, Richard Nixon built his career on his opponents in California being soft on communism. Well, no one stood up against him, not even Eisenhower, until, and here's the parallel with what we're living through today. In 1954, McCarthy was destroying everybody. Everyone was going before his hearings. If you didn't come, you were branded a communist. So you'd have to show up, you were subpoenaed, you had to reveal names, or you were considered a communist. If you took the Fifth Amendment, you were a communist. That's how it was. But McCarthy made one mistake. He went after the U.S. Army. And as soon as he went after our military, that was the last straw. Eisenhower came in. In other words, no one was speaking up against him on these horrible way he was ruining people's lives. But when he went after it was the Army McCarthy hearings in 1954. I remember, because it's really the first thing, I was 10 years old yet, that I remember watching on television for the summer. I'd sit in front of the little television and watch this, and I'm an idiot, but I was fascinated by it. It was all interesting. And that was the Army McCarthy hearings. And that is what led to Eisenhower suddenly stepping up, everyone else, and the Senate censured him. And that was the end of McCarthy, who was already drinking a lot. And then I think within 2 years, he was dead. You know, because he was destroyed.
And society saw him as just going off the deep end.
Yes.
Just a bridge too far. And
right. But the thing that tipped him over was when he went against the Army.
Yep.
Now let's fast forward 70 years, 60 years, to today. You have Trump saying all these racial things for 6, 8, 10 months now. One every day, it's another group. Them Muslims, them Hispanics, they're racist. We're going to build a wall. We're going to throw them out of the country. We're going to keep all this stuff. Where was the Republican leadership saying, this is so un-American, building a wall, being against Muslims, being against Hispanics? Where were they? But as soon as Trump went after the Gold Star parents,
Khan family,
the Khan family, the parents who lost their Muslim son fighting and dying for America, you know, on our armed forces, all of a sudden, whoa, a bridge too far. And all of a sudden now, you see day after day, we cannot tolerate that. When I saw that happening, I was just saying, oh my gosh, this is happening again. Except it's not communism, it's race. And so what I say to the Republican Party, and I guess I've been saying it for a while, you've been in bed with this attitude, even though you'd never articulate it. But the whole Southern strategy, starting with Goldwater and then with Nixon, which was called the Southern strategy, we're going to win the South. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take it away from the Democrats. And when the Democrats passed the Civil Rights Act, that was the last time the South ever went Democrat. And since that time, the Deep South is all Republican. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, whatever. Once in a while, there's an exception in one state. If Clinton is running in Arkansas, then, you know, that kind of thing. But otherwise, the Deep South. And how did they get that vote? They're against busing. They're, you know, any legislation that brings about more integration. So they don't use the racial terms because the leadership of the Republican Party is East Coast. It's the business establishment. It's Wall Street. That's the real power base of the Republican Party. But there are not enough of them to win an election. So they made a deal with the devil. If we go ahead with them, if we give them space on the race issues, we'll never mention the word race, but we'll be with them on busing, and we'll be with them on welfare, and we'll be with them on the voting rights and all those things. They've made this deal. And for all these years now, the South votes Republican. And that is what has happened. So now all of a sudden they're panicked because they never really wanted to say that. They know they don't want to say those things, but they were very happy to get their votes. And now all of a sudden they've got, a Trump whose language is outright racist. It's irrelevant whether he personally thinks himself a racist. His language is racist, and we know that. And now that's what is happening. All of a sudden, the Republican Party has to deal with that, but they have to deal with it only because Trump went too far and went after our military. Calling them atrocious was the word. Well, you go after the American military, those same Southerners are suddenly going to say, And so now the Republican leadership feels safer coming out and saying we can't have Trump. I think that's what you're seeing.
That's an interesting parallel. Yeah, good analysis. Megan, let's turn to you for a minute, if it's okay. Is that okay with you?
Sure, Gene, why not?
Yeah. We have on the phone, Megan. I've
good.
personally arranged this.
Just God
Young
love
man
you.
from, let's bring him on. His name is PJ, and I'm going to ask him because I think it's Colorado, but let me double check that. PJ, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
And there you go, PJ.
Hi,
Let's hear it for PJ.
Very nice.
Somebody who obviously listens to the podcast. He knows about our promotion, Would You Like to Date Megan? Let's recap it real fast, Megan. If you and PJ, if he's the finalist
Tell him
and then
what'll
the
win,
winner,
Gene.
he will
What does he win?
he will come to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And he will have a dinner at a really cool restaurant that's not too far from here.
Yep.
What's the name of
Is it in
Otto's.
Otto's. It's a great place.
Is it in
Otto's and
Ludlow?
Mainstrasse.
No, it's just outside of Ludlow.
Oh, there are no good restaurants in Ludlow?
You know
What's
what?
this about?
Wowee.
Hey, hold on. Thank you, Jerry Springer. It's not going to be at
Well,
Otto's.
maybe it'll be at the Ludlow Tavern.
It's going to be at the Ludlow Tavern.
Okay,
There
there
you
we
go.
go.
Not Otto's.
There
no
we go.
offense
Who
to Otto's.
stands up for Ludlow?
It will be at the
Good job,
Ludlow
Jer.
Tavern. PJ, I've been there. It's a very cool
is good.
place.
Yeah.
Great
Really good,
sliders, good
actually.
mixed
Yeah.
drinks. Very cool place.
But we
live
have to
music on
vet,
Friday
in
night.
fairness, does PJ know we have to vet him?
I think he knows
Sorry,
that.
PJ.
And I'm going to tell you something, Megan. I've talked to PJ on the phone. I've emailed with him a number of times. I think he's a finalist.
Okay.
Well, what did you ask him? Why? Because he's breathing?
He's a good guy. I've
He's
talked to
breathing,
him. No.
technically.
But okay, we'll go ahead and do it. We'll ask him some questions.
What before we do this, what are you thinking of asking this poor gentleman?
I'm thinking.
Do you think he's not hearing me?
I
Well,
know.
well,
I wanna
here's
know.
here's
I
the
wanna
first
know.
question. Here's the first question. PJ, where are you from?
I'm from Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Oklahoma City.
not Colorado.
Not Colorado, Oklahoma City.
All
Yeah,
right.
well, it's close by.
Well, it's not too far away.
Yeah. Well, I guess he made it.
Yeah.
Done. It was
He's American.
No. Well, does he not sound like a good guy to you?
It's unbelievable.
All right.
Let's ask him some questions.
Okay.
Hey, PJ, first of all, by the way, thank you very much for participating in this. We do appreciate it. What do you do for a living? How do you spend your days?
I work for a weather company.
For a weather company.
okay.
Oh.
That's
That's
kinda
pretty cool.
Hey,
Yeah,
so
it's very
yeah.
cool.
Works
Well,
for
at
a
least
weather
you have a
company.
conversation with him. Hey, how's the weather?
Oh my God.
Boy, that's
PJ, did you grow up in Oklahoma City?
Yes, I did.
And
with his voice.
Got a good
What-
voice.
he's got a great
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
what are your interests?
What are your intentions?
No, don't.
Let's get right to it. What are your interests? Well,
What's
you
the
don't care what his
meaning,
interest is. What if he
what-
says he's a
kids.
stamp collector?
No, well, that would be cool if he's a stand. No,
Okay,
I mean, what do you do for fun? What kind of stuff do you like to do?
Recently coached a basketball team
Oh, cool.
for 8th
That's
graders
good.
and 6th
Yeah.
graders. So
Oh, that's good.
So have you-
What age level of a basketball team, by the way?
6th and 8th graders.
Oh, that's
Nice.
cool.
How'd your team do this year?
We did all right. Summer was pretty tough with the tournaments and stuff, but
Yeah.
So,
So-
is this like an AAU or pre-AAU system? What level?
Really?
Yes.
It is?
yes.
This is select basketball then. This is like to get on a team, you've got to be good.
Well, I had some neighborhood kids that played basketball all the time, so I put a team together for them.
Oh, well, that's
No,
very
hey,
good.
We're really vetting this, Megan. Just watch.
You're
how-
talking
wait,
basketball is what
no,
you're
wait,
doing.
one other quick question. Are you have you played basketball through your youth?
Yes.
Did you play high school basketball?
High school basketball. I mean, from a kid all the way to high school.
Okay.
So, PJ, have you now, because you both are really bad at this, like real bad.
Really?
So
I
bad.
thought we were doing
No,
great.
no.
Yeah.
Basketball is very cool. But PJ, have you ever been married? Do you have kids? Do you have a record?
Yeah, basic stuff.
What is okay?
No.
What is the longest time you've been in prison?
No, get out of here.
No, because
He
maybe it was
hasn't
on,
been in-
maybe it's a short
No.
time.
Hey, PJ,
a
have you been married?
I was married once before. but,
Okay. How long were you married?
that long.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, PJ, we have a surprise for you. Come on out.
No.
Oh, dear God. So how long have you been listening to the podcast, PJ?
For about a month.
Okay.
All right. That's
How did
good.
you find us?
Yeah, how'd you find us?
I think I was just looking for a podcast, and I ran across the Jerry Springer podcast.
Okay.
That's really
I
cool.
learned a lot about Jerry's political views and stuff, so it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
All right,
Very
and
cool.
are
That's
you
cool. Thank
now,
you.
Megan? Here's a good question.
I
It's
was
very
good.
much in your interest.
All right, Gene.
Are you? We tend to be PJ, and I think Megan included here, much to the chagrin of her mom and dad. We
And
are
most people in my life.
political liberals. Are you on the conservative side or the liberal side? Would you say?
Well, I'm an Oklahoman. I don't really get into the politics, but
See,
Like it. That's a good answer.
That's a good
I like
answer.
that. All right. So did you say you've been married? Do you have kids?
yes, I have 3 daughters,
3 daughters. How old are they?
5, 7, and 11.
Your hands are full, sir.
yeah.
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 That's crazy.
But that doesn't. It's not a disqualifier.
No,
for you
not
that
at
somebody
all.
has
No,
had,
not at all.
has children.
Yeah. No, that's fine. No,
Okay.
that's good.
No, they're well taken care of.
good.
Nice.
Good.
Well, what do you think? I think he's a finalist. I think
Look,
he might even be the leading.
I'll tell you why he's a
finalist.
finalist. He didn't hang up on us.
Also true.
You're the first guy not to hang up on us. So God bless you.
Thank
There's
you,
been
PJ.
intense competition.
Oh, the competition
for
has
this.
been unbelievable.
It has been. This has blown up. This is almost out of control.
It is. It is. We need
Truly
extra
remarkable.
security.
It
Just to,
is truly
PJ, would you
remarkable.
come to Cincinnati and if you are the winner?
I sure will,
Okay.
Okay.
as
wow.
long as I can bring Megan back to Oklahoma.
Well,
oh,
see the
game,
audience like
set,
that
match,
answer.
moving.
I
Yeah.
like it. I like
Hey,
it.
PJ, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're a
we
good
will
guy.
be in touch.
Thank you,
Please keep
PJ.
listening, all right?
But thank you for having me. I
All right,
appreciate
see you,
Okay,
PJ.
thanks a
That's
lot.
PJ, Oklahoma City.
That was cute. These guys are really good sports to put up with you guys. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like they
I-
are really good sports.
I think we should bring him through and make him the winner, but maybe that's a little premature.
Yeah. Well, let's
Am
see.
I rushing?
Let's see how the weekend goes in Oklahoma.
yeah.
So I'm learning more and more about Eugene. So you proposed to Bonnie after an hour. You've talked to him for 10
2
minutes.
hours,
Yeah.
actually.
So you're kind of impulsive. We're gonna.
I think propose to Bonnie's a wrong way to put it. I begged her
Yeah.
to marry me
Pleaded with her.
unsuccessfully. Hey, we're going to bring in James Weston, by the way. Let's hear it for James Weston.
Good evening.
And James is a singer-songwriter with a great story, and we're going to ask him first to do a song, and I think he's going to do Cincinnati Rose, which is his first song, which is a tribute, by the way, Jerry, to a guy we call in Cincinnati Charlie Hustle.
Oh, right.
Guy from Price Hill in
Sure.
Cincinnati, Pete
Pete
Rose,
Yeah, exactly.
who is the all-time
Hits
record
leader.
holder of base hits.
yes.
Do I have that right, James? Are you going to
Yeah,
do
that's about right.
a
Yeah,
song for
yeah,
Pete Rose?
that's about
All right.
right. I was sitting in Nashville outside the train, and I was reading about how the Major League Baseball denied Pete from being in the Hall of Fame again. And I don't know, I wrote the song in about 5 minutes. I love when that happens. But It's called Cincinnati Rose. It goes like this.
All right, James Weston.
Roses are red, but Pete's got the blues. How would you feel were you in his shoes? No man hit more so swiftly to first. Yet last in their hall, it's the most famous curse. The people I know say he let the rose bloom. Grant the man entrance to your diamond-shaped room, encased him in stone with a Louisville slugger. He's forever at bat, there won't be another. So we hit baseball, race to first, slide to second, wheel round third. Now go home, race to first, slide to second. Exist for us all to follow. The legend burns brighter, that's why it's tough to swallow. How you exile this man for the same crimes you do. You are worse than the cockroaches under my shoe. The people I know say let the rose bloom. Grant the man trees your diamond-shaped room, encased him in stone with a Louisville slugger. Forever at bat, there won't be another. Right, here we go. Round. Race to first, slide to second. Send him home now. Head on home, people. Go on home.
James Weston.
Fantastic.
And our own Casey Campbell singing harmony. That is great stuff.
I got a Google alert that said that song is number 17 in Norway in the adult contemporary folk charts. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
We got to go to Norway. It's about baseball too. It's just like,
that is great. And by the way, James just came back from a tour in the United Kingdom, so he's familiar with the whole scene in Europe.
Has Pete heard that song?
I don't know. It's there for him to hear.
That's
it.
really cool.
You got to get it to him.
Well, if you
He sings at the baseball park all the time. I'm like, hey man.
Well, we got a way to do it. If you get us just a CD cut of that, we can get that to him. You can get that to him through our
that song's coming at you.
Absolutely. He will get.
It's on iTunes and Spotify as well.
Yeah, but I think if Jerry Springer gives that to him, that would be pretty cool.
I
And
think
he will
probably
pay
could get
attention
through a
to it.
door I couldn't.
And by the way, yeah, right. You can hear James' music at jameswestonmusic.com. or Google it. It's available on iTunes, Spotify. He's doing a lot of live shows. He's got a U.S. tour that's going to start in September, run through November. But a really cool thing, James, is that we just learned that you are moving into Ludlow, Kentucky.
Yeah, you are.
And that is cool. Because
From
here's
Nashville,
what's
right?
significant about that. Ludlow, Kentucky is becoming a place where a lot of people are moving in of all types. I mean, I live in Ludlow, Kentucky, for example.
So old people.
Yeah. And Casey Campbell has moved in, and
So talented
Ben
people.
Knight, who
Talented
is
people.
a roots
And
music
Gene.
singer. You're coming in, but this is becoming almost like a Nashville North, a
I
sort
wouldn't
of
even
a
listen.
creative
I'm not
class place.
slighting Nashville. I lived there 4 years, and
Yeah.
you know I love Nashville. It's great, but I need a new adventure. And the thing about Ludlow or in Cincinnati greater
Right.
area as opposed to Nashville, it's you know you got a real community that's not here for false pretenses.
You got it.
Yeah.
That
a good
is
point.
a great point, and it's a very welcoming place. And I left out Maria Corelli, who has she's a barista here at Folk School Coffee Parlor. She's been on the podcast, young folk singer, and really cool about her. She lives on a boat, which is like pretty close to Ludlow, just outside on the Ohio River. So there's all these people in this
You have to
creative
pay
class
rent?
moving in. Yeah, she probably pays a slip fee.
Property tax.
Slip
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah, slip fee.
It's
Yeah.
like $600 for 6 months.
All right,
Whoa.
so
We're all
we're-
moving to boats.
Hey, get your boats and come on down. Rounding third and going home.
and of course,
Swimming home, more like it.
Yeah.
we're moving all these people in to get more votes for Matt Catfish Williams, by the way. Running for city council in Ludlow, Kentucky. All right, James, we're going to ask you to do another song. I think this one's called Unlucky Blues.
Unlucky
Would you do
Blues.
that?
I just recorded this New Year's Day with a bunch of Nashville musicians, and this is my newest album. You can find it on iTunes. I wrote this in L.A. It was Unlucky Blues. Like, I've been hanging out in the back of your mind, babe. Baby, I've been hanging out in the back of your mind. Oh, maybe I was just unlucky. Maybe you were just unkind. You played me like a game, woman, like a puppet on your string. You played it like a game, like Monopoly, like Candy Lane, like a puppet on your string. Oh, they give me you, woman, I do just about anything. Come on now. Show us. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like a puppet on your string. Yeah. Baby, I used to bleed red. That's all gone dry. It's all dry. Oh, I used to bleed red deep in my veins, but that's all gone dry. Now there ain't nothing but an empty shell. Ain't nothing left inside. You know, I'm so damn low. I ain't got no pride left.
back my soul. Yes, I could.
Lord. Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Unlucky Blues, James Weston.
Just two quick questions. One, what was your voice like in junior high school?
Seriously.
You know, I mean, when you were a kid or just, getting into your teenage, because this voice is unique.
You know, it wasn't like this, man. It was a lot like, well, it's funny. It's,
When
it's
did
a lot
it
it's like Will Smith or something, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Weston.
Yeah.
Just like Will Smith.
Yeah. And the next question is, you said you wrote this on New Year's Day. How depressing was your New Year's Eve?
Right.
That the next morning you get up and you write, I've lost my soul. What did you
walk
do that
outside-
night?
You walk outside of your apartment complex in downtown Los Angeles on 4th and Alameda, and you accidentally step in some human feces. It's probably a pretty bad day.
Yeah.
It's going to start off probably wrong,
Yeah.
No espresso can ever help that.
That's good. Hey,
That guy had a...
You are really.
hey,
Yeah, that
introduce
guy
your
had a
guitar
worst.
player real fast too, would you? Who's a
Yeah,
guitar
this
player?
is Mr. Alan Talbot. Me and this... Here's the reason. Thank you.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm actually here and moving back to Ludlow, I blame these two jokers. We
Yeah.
used to live in a house together and play off the Newport on the Levee. We used to play in
yeah.
a band together.
Okay,
right?
yeah, Newport, Kentucky.
And I
Yeah.
moved away about, how many years?
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Well, welcome back. Hey,
Thank you.
take us out on Good Night, Irene, would you? And Jerry Springer will jump in with you.
Oh, yeah, I know the words
really?
to
You know the
this.
words?
Sing
this
with
week?
me, man.
I'm not even writing them down. I'm so confident.
Wowee. Because I have to write him down for him.
Join in if I say something.
Last Saturday, I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Now me and my baby are partying.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I see you in my dreams.
Sometimes I'll live in the country. Sometimes I'll live in town. Sometimes I'll take a great notion
What you gonna do?
to jump in the